Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome back to another professional match of StarCraft 2. Now, what I got for you today is a Zerg versus Protoss on Parasite LE. Spawning here in the bottom right hand corner of the map. He's one of the greatest players in the United States of America and he goes by the nickname of Puck. And his opponent spawning in the top left-hand corner of the map. He's playing with the red Zerg drones. He's from Mexico, and he goes by the nickname of Cham. Now, I don't cover either player nearly as often as they deserve on this channel, so I figured it's about time to go ahead and change that. And for those of you curious, I just quickly looked it up. Cham is actually the current rank 2 Grandmaster on the North American server, and Puck, our Protoss player, is the current rank 5. So there's no denying that over in the Americas, these players are some of the very best. Curious to see what they will bring to this game. I know that Puck is quite well known for playing some wild strategies, although he's perfectly capable of playing that really solid macro-focused game. And there's no denying, if you have a quick look on Parasite LE, that this map kind of favors that much more macro-focused style. You have pretty much 3, 4, 5 bases that are relatively easy to take for both races. And I think in general, this is a map that really does lend itself to a lot more macro-focused styles. So let's go ahead and have a look at exactly what both players are going for. We see that hatch gas pool already here for Cham. Playing very safe, leaving that second Overlord near the natural for a little while to just scout for incoming cannon aggression, all kinds of other shenanigans that Protoss players can throw at them. And Puck already going for a very quick nexus here on the low ground as well after starting up a gateway. So here's the thing about Zerg versus Protoss. Usually Protoss players try their very best to slow down that Zerg economy. They've got 1,000 different ways of doing so, but unlike, for example, Terran versus Zerg, where Terran really has a wide variety of builds that they can choose from, usually, at least in my experience, it is the Protoss players that love going for Stargate. Now, there's definitely variety as well. Some people like to go double Stargate, some people like to skip the Stargate and go straight into Robotics, some people like to go straight into Twilight Council, but it all feels kind of similar, you know? In a way, Protoss is trying to make some units that they can use to slow down the Zerg economy, to make it so that Zerg can't just go straight up to like 80 workers, while also staying safe for them to actually expand towards a third. Now, obviously, Protoss also does have the option for them to go ahead and play hyper-aggressive off of 2 bases. There's already a second gas geyser right here in the main, and there is now also a Stargate coming up. Cham is looking for that second pylon. He hasn't seen it just yet, but I'm assuming he's gonna find out about this Stargate here in just a second. Really though, it's mostly the Zerg player in this matchup that gets to play that really responsive style, you know? Zerg ideally wants to make 80 workers before making any army, other than making a couple of queens and maybe a few overlords, but usually it's gonna be the Protoss who will try and slow that kind of thing down. Very macro-oriented styles though here by both players. Cham already going for a very early Spore Crawler there after scouting that indeed it is going to be that very quick Oracle here from Puck. No Phoenix play. I've actually been seeing a lot of Protoss players myself opening up with like double Stargate once again, or at the very least 1 Stargate and then like 3, 4 Phoenixes, which is kind of interesting. It makes it look as if you're going mass Phoenix, but then you just transition to watch a robotic facility a little while later. But Puck playing something that I would consider to be the 100% gold standard right now. Going for 1 Oracle, and then followed up with 1 Phoenix. You're going to be able to deny that scouting from Zerg for a really long time, and essentially force Zerg to make a couple of gambles or to blindly make units just in case there's some aggression. Nice little bit of damage there by Puck, actually already showing respect there to his opponent, right? He could have tried to jump the mineral line. Ooh, you cannot lose that. There you go. He could have tried to jump the mineral line. He's gonna... Oh, well, that's a big pickup, actually. That's really nicely done. He could have jumped the mineral line there right away, but he already assumed that there would be a Spore Crawler. Losing that Oracle actually kind of hurts. This does mean now that Puck is forced to wait until he's got the next Oracle out before he can easily expand, right? Because otherwise the Zerglings can just swoop in and kill this base very easily. Obviously, we know right here, by looking at that production tab, that none of that is going on. But Cham, of course, did have the option to make a big influx of Zerglings there to try and deny this third Nexus from going up. But all things considered, shouldn't be all too much. How much did he end up killing there? He killed 2 workers only and a single Zergling, so it's not like it was a massive amount of kills. Phoenix, though, still going around scouting what is going on. It scouts the timing there of the evolution chamber, which is actually rather important. And it may even be able to pick up like an overlord or so. All right, nice little bit of harassment there. A couple overlords already hiding in that corner. That could definitely become a little bit of a nuisance here. But already the queen is coming up for the rescue. So yeah, this is pretty much what I expected here, right? Pretty much what we were assuming. This is more of a macro-focused map, and I kind of like to see this. Both players are very good at playing that macro style, so I'm curious to see how this is gonna end up playing out. You do see Cham now making a couple of blind roaches here, trying to just simply be smart. You don't want to just randomly go down to the most common follow-up, for example, an Archon drop, right? We see a lot of Archon drop play after the Stargate shenanigans. None of that, though, will really deal damage to him if he manages to get himself just a handful of these roaches. Now, this is an interesting play. Okay, so I would have expected here for him to go for the Hydra Den. If you go for the Hydra Den, obviously you get yourself some Hydralisk out, you can transition towards Lurkers, and you can really shoo away a lot of those flying units, and we already do see another Oracle now joining that second one as well. However, we see a nice tag there. Did you see that? He sees the Spire. We already see that Spire coming up, and I think that Cham may very well not be... He could go mute us. He could go mute us, but considering he's playing Roaches... I'm not sure. He could make like 2 mutas, but he knows his opponent already has the Stargate out, right? It kind of feels a little greedy. He could just cancel it and go straight up into the Hydra Den. We do already see now the Infestation Pit coming up too, so I guess he could try and maybe transition here towards, I don't know, Brute Lords really early on. There's a lot of options, but I kind of feel like this is not muta play, but more or less Corruptor. He knows there's already Phoenix is out. You can't really make that Phoenix switch very easily at all. Regardless, the roaches are going on a bit of a stroll. They made their way across the map. And interestingly enough, while Cham may have been planning to go for like a handful of mutas here, with the Spire getting scouted, he just sort of has it right there behind the mineral line, doing a whole lot of nothing. And now, he finally does indeed start producing some Corruptors. One of the reasons why this map lends so very well to macro is because it's very difficult to push in. You see that? Protoss players have gotten extremely good at creating these walls that will essentially never really take any damage. I mean, you can obviously send some roaches there, but all things considered, Protoss should be okay as long as his buildings are in a good position. And so far, that's exactly what's going on. Cham is losing quite a lot of roaches, actually, to just the two Oracles. They're just simply zapping away, trying to use whatever energy they can. But I guess this is kind of cute, right? Because Puck, he knows that his opponent has the option to go for that Mutalisk play. He started up a whole bunch of Phoenixes, and right now there's no mutas anywhere. So that's kind of cool, right? You make your opponent scout an early Spire, force a reaction out of them, and then actually not do anything with it. Kind of an interesting idea, because the Spire is now coming up. Greater Spire can be morphed in very quickly. I like the idea. It's kind of cool. Regardless, while a small group of roaches right here is pushing through the center, trying to deny this 4th base here from Protoss, we also saw that double Overlord drop already making their way towards the main base of our Protoss player. At the same time, the Phoenixes made their way towards the top left-hand corner. They're just simply hunting Overlords, trying to figure out if there are any mutas anywhere. Looks like for the time being, they won't be scouted. This also will not be spotted, and Cham is going to be able to drop some of those units off inside of his opponent's main base. At the same time, the roaches once again are going to try and test the waters here for a little bit. 1 shield battery and 3 photons, though. Very healthy amount. He just tickles the warp gate for a little bit, and then he allows himself a bunch of time to drop those units off inside of the main base. But the defense so far has been really quite solid here for Puck. I would like it if he decides to warp in maybe a couple of zealots inside of that main too. Instead, though, the Phoenixes are coming back. I guess they're going to be able to force these units to go down. And in the grand scheme of things, while the 4th base still lives, 9 probes there end up going down. So it's not terrible, but yeah, 9 workers is actually a little bit more than I expected after he responded so very, very cleanly. Okay. So I guess Puck is reading his opponent like a book, right? He saw the timing of that hive, and he starts up the Tempest play. I really like that. The Tempests are actually really smart, because the Tempest can easily pick off Brute Lords. And speaking of Brute Lords, oh god. Here we go. 9 Brute Lords are already coming up here for Cham. Zealots are doing a run by. That's wonderful play there by Puck. He may very well be able to kill the base. We have one supervisor right here looking at his brothers. He's like, yes, guys. Good work. He may very well be able to at the very least slow this down, though. And I think that's kind of what he's aiming for. The longer that this takes, for Cham to move across the map, the more Tempest will come out. Now, Tempests have this nasty tendency to take like 4.5 hours to build. They do cost quite a lot of resources and they take a very long time to build. There's already 2 of them right now, though. But he's gonna need them now with the Tempest advancing. Only 2 Corruptors remain, though, and I think that this should be holdable right here for Puck, right? He's been microing this like an absolute champ so far, not really taking any critical damage whatsoever. I think workers-wise, yeah, look at that. All of the resources and whatnot definitely nicely in favor there of Puck, because he's got a solid economy, but he needs to hold on to these Brute Lords. That's 4 Tempests already, though. 4 Tempests. 4 Tempests. Now, keep in mind, there's no Hydralisk or whatever with this army. The probes are evacuating, and I think with that, Puck is gonna try and retreat as well. Wonderful snipe there by Cham to go after that 4th Nexus. He manages to kill it with basically not losing anything there in the process. The Tempest, though, trying to deal whatever damage they can, but Cham is not done. He wants to continue fighting right here, and I think it's a good choice for him. The only thing is, though, that these Tempests, right, they're just picking away at units left and right. They're just dealing a little bit of damage. Now, there's a couple of Hydras now finally in this unit composition, too. They do have their Grooved Spines upgrade, but not their Muscular Augments just yet, which is quite a big deal. And look at that, right? Every second that goes by, more and more of these Tempests are picking off more and more of those Brute Lords. And I think with most of the Corruptors now dwindling, right, and the Hydras slowly taking damage. Ooh, nice group actually right there. Group of Stalkers there. But I think with all of those units disappearing, every single one of these Zerg units will be cleaned up. Hydra's even giving chase right now. Hydra's always a bit of a tricky unit to decide to warp in, because Zerg has so many excellent counters to those Stalkers. But Puck manages to hold, and that was a push right there for Cham that was most definitely meant to strike the killing blow. Upgrade-wise, he is sitting at +2, +1, so it's not like he's in a bad spot. But I feel like right now, Puck is gonna allow himself to start up that really scary Stargate army. He's been playing this game extremely passively so far. There are now a lot of Corruptors in the air, though, but I think yeah, indeed, the Void Ray switch is really clever. If he adds maybe a couple more Stargates and then a Fleet Beacon, he can really start up. Oh, obviously, he already has the Fleet Beacon, eh? But he could already start up some carrier production here in just a little bit, too. Now, the Corruptors here, they're ready to piss on a base. And after a couple seconds, you can see that damage, man. It starts piling up like no tomorrow. And it does look like the Nexus will go down. Tempests were once again sent over in that direction. But Cham making these smart decisions. He manages to kill another base. And he's sort of soft-containing his opponent on 3 bases. Even though there's continuously like 4 Nexi up, it looks like Puck is just simply contained on the bases that he's got. And once again, right, another hit squad of units here is moving forward. Corruptors do not have their puking ability available just yet, but the Roaches and the Hydras snipe another base. At the same time, the Corruptors trying to get a little bit of value there. One Tempest does end up dying. Those Stalkers apparently also get stormed, which is kind of sad for them. But Puck's army is menacing, man. He's got a much bigger force, it looks like, than his opponent. Plus, this is a really well-sophisticated army. Right? Look at this. This is a really nice army composition, whereas Cham is sitting on a lot of Roaches and whatnot. And while Roaches are nice, they're not that great at actually fighting these kind of units at this point in the game. More High Templar are coming up as well for Puck. He once again is securing himself a couple other Nexi, but he needs to get something done. He needs to deal some sort of damage. The more shot these Tempests deal, right, the more shots they actually shoot at their opponents, the more damage they provide. And they can shoot from really far away. I love the fact that Puck actually decided to go for a second Oracle to tag these units, because he can just simply shoot away with the Tempest as long as he has visions. Great storms, though, going down so far. But Puck is absolutely blanketing this army in psionic storms. But sometimes StarCraft is just a numbers game. Those Stasis Wards, though, shutting down a couple of those Roaches and Hydralisk. And now with more and more of those Corruptors falling, I think that Puck will eventually be able to get rid of most of those units. But that was still a scary close fight. On the back of this, right, Cham has been mining a lot of resources, and I really like this position that he's in. Finally realizing that he didn't have the Muscular Augments upgrade just yet. I really do like the idea of what Cham is doing here, but he hasn't been able to strike that killing blow. And on the back of this, Puck has been happily macroing up a bigger and bigger army. He did end up losing a couple of Tempests there. You have 4 in total. Not really a unit that you wanna lose. But still, Cham is once more stuck on a relatively low tier army, and it's difficult for him to really get that fight. Now finally some lurkers are coming out too. I really like that decision. But obviously the more air units come out right now for Puck, don't want to sacrifice those. Oh my god. Poor units. You don't want to sacrifice those, but the more flying units come out, obviously, the less useful Tempests, or rather the less useful lurkers are going to be. Great storms so far, though, once again, covering so much of that army. And obviously, these units will be detected here as well with that single observer up in the air. It's serving a very, very important task. Storms are pretty much everywhere. A couple of Void Rays now once again coming from the left-hand side. They're going to use Prismatic Alignment to get rid of all of those units once more. And Cham is once again forced to go back home. So let's have a look here, right? Look at the units lost here. Oh my god. Cham has been throwing so many units at his opponent that he's lost almost like... Well, I don't even want to do the math, right? He lost more than 10,000 resources than his opponent. Now, truth, he has been mining a lot more than his opponent as well, sitting on a very comfortable economy, but Puck has been holding on. Sure, he lost a bunch here and there, but he has been holding on, and that's the most important part. We see the mothership now coming up here for Puck as well. He's really going for that high tier end game kind of army here for Protoss. And we all know what happens, right? Once Protoss maxes out on these kind of units, you can deal a tremendous amount of damage. I think Cham needs to be careful. It's very easy to overextend, and I think he's already been kind of doing that. Both players actually fighting the same debris there. Eventually, it will apparently knock down another one of those choke points. But Puck really playing the map more so than the matchup, right? He really took that base quickly. And while he has been losing a whole lot here and there as well, he's been trading extremely well with the army that he does have. 5th Nexus will now also be coming up, and I have to hand it to Puck, man. When he was down like 2 bases versus 5, right? It kind of felt like this game might very well be ending to just that hyper-aggressive style here from Cham. But he has been holding on. Now, once again, a small group of Hydras will find out that the weather is kind of turbulent today, and they also end up getting sniped. Once more, a couple Broodlords coming up, but I say that, and Stargates are also on that production tab. Tempests are now coming up here for Puck. Or not, rather not Tempest, sorry. Carriers are now coming up here for Puck. He's got that mothership as well, right? There it is. The mothership is going to be absolutely phenomenal. Just for simply cloaking these units, but also for just making the engagements for Zerg significantly more difficult. Cloaking obviously always nice. A couple of Zealots now warped in right here on the left hand side. Looks like they basically warped into their deaths with these Roaches and Hydras fighting here as well. At the same time, it looks like once again Puck is constantly posturing, right? He's trying to posture himself into a position where he can just simply push forward, but then every time he cleans up a little bit of creep and he forces back an army, he goes back home once again as well. And while that's all going on, he's continuously transitioning towards that super late game army that Protoss loves so very much. Great storms though, once again, providing so much value. Cham trying to move up that high ground, but I don't know if he should do that, man. Once again, a completely failed attempt. We do see those Brute Lords though, ready to shoo away the majority of this Protoss army, and even though some Tempests still remain, they are definitely not going to be enough to hold their position right here near that center part of the Zerg base. Now, I love this. Oh, would you look at that, right? We haven't seen this a lot, actually, at this level of play. 9 Infestors are coming up and Neural Parasite. I think that Cham is gonna try and neural the mothership, the carriers, and whatever else he can grab. The thing is, on paper, with, of course, observers as well as High Templar, you can feed back and just simply deal damage to a lot of those infestors with relative ease. However, if you do manage to control just a handful of those carriers, it can 100% turn the tide of battle extremely quickly. You can essentially temporarily mind control those carriers and make them fight for the Zerg army instead. I don't think Puck knows about this. I don't think Puck has spotted it. How many observers does he have? He has got 3 observers. So they are they all with the army? I'm not entirely sure, but I think they must be. Now, Revelation there was used on his army, and at the very least now, the Hydras, or rather the Infestors, will be spotted. Great storms here. Neural Parasite was already used there for just a little bit, showing that it is indeed available right now for the Zerg. And obviously, Infested Terrans are also excellent when it comes to getting rid of, in particular, those small little interceptors. They deal a phenomenal amount of damage, right? It's one of the most tanky units in the game. Tempest just gets shut down by a couple of Infested Terrans. At the same time, a hit squad of 2 Lurkers made their way towards the center of the map, and at the same time, 2 Zealots are right here on the left-hand side trying to snipe another base. Oh, man. I'm waiting. So, maybe this is the Zerg bias coming through in me, right? But I'm waiting for a juicy, juicy, juicy Neural Parasite that just sort of takes control of all those units. Puck obviously knows that that option is there, though. And he's actually doing a phenomenal job with just small amounts of Zealots here. Killing 21 or 23 drones right now in total. And he's not done just yet. Well, apparently he is. 23 drones. In exchange for a handful of Zealots, and I think maybe some of these units ended up killing some drones there too. Still though, a really good trade. And Cham is now actually with his back up against the wall, right? Look at the supply count. He was very far ahead earlier, but Puck managed to hold on, and now he's transitioned towards that really, really strong mass starport-based army. 3 more carriers just about to come out. Puck has, how many Stargates is that? Like, I think he's got like 4 or 5 Stargates here in total. Quite substantial. Once again, a couple of Zealots right here moving on the left-hand side, picking up more and more drones. And this really forces Cham to be in a really wild and rough position. Once more, the main army is trying to make a bit of a push here through the center. Look at the amount of resources lost here for Zerg. That's insane. That's insane. The cost inefficiency here of Zerg has really been showing, or I guess the cost efficiency of the way that Puck has been playing this absolutely wonderfully. A couple of Immortals apparently actually were left out. They just sniped the base right here in the top right-hand corner of the map. Obviously, Immortals have this weird tendency to be absolutely phenomenal in the early game, but later on they're not nearly as valuable as, for example, more Carriers or more Archons or more High Templar, but they're still excellent at sniping buildings, right? So both of them apparently are just simply hanging out right here in the top right-hand corner, and they managed to snipe another hatchery. Puck now transitioning towards the 6th base, and we have really arrived at the late game. I've been really impressed, though, with the way that that Puck has been handling this, right? I think I personally would have lost like 14 times already. Like, once again, it was like 5 base versus 2 in favor of Zerg there for a little while, right? When the double Nexus snipe happened. Now, obviously, Cham threw away a lot of units to do so, and he wasn't able to close out the game with the follow-up. Still, though, obviously, Infestors can 100% turn the tide of battle. How many High Templar remain? That's 11 High Templar. They're spread out all over the map, obviously, but still. This can deal a phenomenal amount of damage. Plus, I like this a lot. Cham is playing this super safe. He's just simply sitting back, trying to get the best engagement that he can, using Spore Crawlers and Spine Crawlers as well, just to make this a little bit easier, and apparently also 1 Infested Terran. The 1 Infested Terran is going to turn the tide of battle for sure. A hit squad of Void Rays now actually making their way towards the center, going after that base immediately. I love that. Ooh, well, the assimilations right there were indeed successful on some of those units. Void Rays are sniping the base there in the center, but it looks like Puck may very well be moving forward, trying to storm as much of the Zerg army as he possibly can. But here are the Neural Parasites. A whole lot of those carriers are now actually mind-controlled. At the same time, the Corruptors are swooping forward, trying to go after the Mothership and whatever else they can grab. Beautiful target firing so far here by Cham, and even though his army was absolutely abysmal in comparison to the Protoss, he just sniped all of those units. No way! Oh, dude, no way! That was one of the juiciest Infestor Neurals I've ever seen. Oh, that was phenomenal. Okay, Loko, calm down. Looks like the Void Rays that were tasked with killing the base in the center were successful. I'm actually surprised that Cham even retakes it. There's barely any mining there. But more and more units are now sniped, and Cham is all of a sudden definitely back into the game. Now he needs to be careful though. This is still 6 base Protoss. Although I guess the main and the natural and the third are pretty much mined out. But this is still a very, very solid Protoss economy, who's got all the upgrades and all of the tech that he needs to be successful in the game. You can see, though, that Puck doesn't have a very large army here anymore. But, oh, these Brute Lords. Oh, my God. Great snipe there by Puck. He manages to snipe, well, all of them so far. Once again, Neural Parasite there on those Void Rays. The Void Rays using their prismatic alignment against their own Stalkers, which does make them deal bonus damage. The High Templar Storms, though, absolutely phenomenal. But Cham, once again, definitely loses a large chunk of his army. I think if he would have had those 6 Brute Lords here, this could have actually been game over. But Puck, just simply having that killer instinct, decided that it was time to blink forward and go after those units. Now, oh man. Oh man. Cham loses so much once again. I think he underestimated the amount of economy that this Protoss player was on. The base right here on the right hand side may not have been found until just now. And Puck is actually playing aggressive with Stalkers. Going back to Stalkers at the 25-minute mark seems so backwards. Okay, so Cham. He's gone back to more and more macro. I like this a lot. But Puck has been sniping these bases left and right. And once more, he will find out about this base here in the bottom left-hand corner. He should be able to eventually clean this up. So Puck is going to send back some of those zealots once more. But Cham's mining is really not that impressive. It's only 47 Harvesters, which in the grand scheme of things is just barely enough to properly saturate 2 bases. It's really not that much eco here whatsoever. Both players actually trying to scramble by. Those High Templar, man, they are absolutely critical. Losing 2 of them is painful. Puck definitely does not want to lose that many units for practically free. He also has to be careful. Well, that's more than enough observers here. But he also has to be careful that these Stalkers do not get caught. Once again, though, the Zealots there, while the main army of the Zerg is distracted, they swooped in and killed another base in the bottom left-hand corner. And they are going to be mass recalled. And I think they're going to be joining here. Oh my god. The rest of the army as well. Wonderful play here. Another Nexus will now be taken in one of the most risky positions in the game. Keep in mind, there's a lot of creep tumors still around here. Although Cham does not currently have vision of that. Man, this is a sick game. This is so sick. I don't even know who's winning this. Both players have been taking blows left and right. Look at the Zerg units lost. The resources. That is over 60,000 resources in a single game. Man, that Protoss cost efficiency, that's insane though. Puck has been handling this like a champ. Once again, those storms, man, so much value. Woo! That weather forecast, definitely in favor right here of the Protoss player. In the meantime, though, those Lurkers managed to get a lot of value off. And I say that it was definitely in favor of Protoss. But with those Zealots being sniped off, I'm not sure if that is actually true. Cham now switching back towards that Roach Hydra Lurker-based composition, which I like a lot. Brute Lords and whatnot are nice, right? But they're difficult to pull off. Another Mothership was made. Wow. Somehow Puck got the resources to pull together another Mothership. That's nicely done. Well, this Nexus definitely is not destined to live. At the same time, as a couple of Zealots made their way through the center of the map. Well, he's going to try and keep that base alive. Maybe Puck will be able to, but that Mothership is actually super, super beneficial here. Because it just simply... It doesn't just cloak everything. It has got a couple of powerful spells as well. But it like messes up the AI a lot. Plus it has 700 hit points, right? Which is very, very high. 700 hit points is a ton. It's exactly what you want. Once more, I think this base in the center here will be sniped for about the 14th time. I don't even think that base is really worth it with the amount of minerals that is surrounding it. But doesn't matter. He will be able to once again kill that base. Roach Hydra hit squad now though, moving out. But there's so many photon cannons everywhere. I don't really know exactly where he can really get the value. I think the reason for killing this hatchery is more so that positional play, right? Looks like Cham wants to try and go after the High Templar over here. Great storms once again. They will be able to clean up a lot of this army, but it's also forcing the mass recall on everything, including the Mothership. So that definitely forces this Zerg army to go back home. Oh! Fuck, that was beautiful. That stasis ward trap there catching the retreat of the Zerg army. That was gorgeous. This is the majority of the army of Zerg, it feels like. Well, not quite, but, you know, a good quarter or so of it at the very least. Oh, that was gorgeous. Now it forces Cham to make that move forward. It looks like still Puck is going to be forced back, and the majority of those units will survive this engagement. But that was a really sexy move. And it's actually still, there we go, one stasis ward available. Going back into Immortals right now is Puck. He needs to deal with those roaches and those lurkers. He threw them away, remember, in the top left-hand corner a while ago? Well, now he needs them once more to come back into the battle and to fight another day. Oh, this is a sick, sick game. Puck trying to send some of the probes here towards that base that is taken really far away from his other mining resources. A lot of units will go down, and actually I'm a little worried about these probes, man. Yeah, walking through a field of lurkers, usually not that smart. At the same time, Zealots are still trying to deal some damage here in the bottom left-hand corner. This is really Cham's last lifeline, though. He's got very little mining here in general. But I guess the same can really be said here for Protoss. I think both players here are getting to the point where this is the army that they've got. You know, the mining here has been trickling down. Neither player really gets a lot of income here whatsoever. And that mothership, man, that mothership is phenomenal. That mothership just simply provides so much additional value to this army. It allows you to line up those storms beautifully. And obviously, once more, he forces those lurkers to get out of position. And now all of a sudden, the natural here is wide open. A single swarm host is now being built. Zealots, though, will be picked off here in the bottom left-hand corner. But that pulled apart a lot of that Zerg army once again. The Great Aspire now taking some damage. I think the Swarm Host will also end up dying. Keep in mind, mass recall should be available, and if Zerg manages to scramble up into the main base, this is where most tech structures of Zerg are. The Great Aspire already fell. I think the Hive is gonna be next. Wonderful move there. Oh my god, the time warp on the ramp, forcing this Zerg player to scramble into the main base. And obviously, this is buying Puck so much time. He can just recall, but he doesn't even need to. I think he could just stand here and fight. Those storms are so juicy, getting so much value out of all of those units, man. It is insane. Now, I think there's only 1 or 2 storms remaining. A lot of corruptors, or rather, a lot of overseers here as well. So at least some of those units will go down. But Cham is looking like he loses the majority of that army. Puck was probably planning on doing a mass recall. At the same time, the Warpins were in fact in the bottom left-hand corner. These Zealots trying to get whatever value they can. And Cham is gonna lose not only all of his army, but also all of his tech. He's got a Hydra then that's slowly bleeding out, so I guess he's got a couple seconds remaining to make some additional Hydralisks. But I think that Puck has done it. What an insane game. Cham was extremely far ahead earlier, right, with that sweet Neural Parasite as well. Obviously, at that point, he was behind once more, but I think the Neural Parasite brought him back into the game. And then Puck, with that super patient play, just simply expanding slowly but surely, trading extremely efficiently, right? It allowed him to build up a massive army in comparison to his opponent. And, man, these Immortals... Oh, that Stalker warping, that was beautiful. Yeah, Puck is the one who obtains the victory. That was sick. I hope you enjoyed watching this game. If you did, make sure you hit that like button down below. And if you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get a notification as soon as I upload more. A special shout out to the Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for directly helping me out. But for now, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, alright? And I will see you once again in the next one. I have to say though, man, StarCraft is such a beautiful game. That was epic.